Hello everyone, I'm Arsene Gasparian. Welcome to the ABC Media Genesis Talk special show. Our guest today is Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary, His Excellency Mr. Khalil Shirolami. Welcome to our show, Ambassador. Before we start our discussion, I extend my deepest condolences to the people of Iran and to the families mourning the loss of spiritual leader Ali Khamenei, senior military and government officials, and those innocent civilians who perished during the war. I especially remember the young schoolgirls and their educators who lost their lives in the tragic attack on the girls' school in Minab. That was a heartbreaking loss that touched everybody in the world. May the souls of the perished rest in peace, and may dignity and peace prevail over conflict.
Thank you, Gaspar, for having me. That's a great pleasure to talk to you and to your esteemed audience. And thank you for expression of solidarity with the Iranian people, that we really highly value that. And we have received lots of them from the Armenian brotherly nation. Thank you so much.
So my first question obviously is related to the military activities and what are happening in Iran today. Iran historically demonstrates high strategic resilience in external conflicts. From a political science perspective, there are three conditions that are required for a regime collapse. Those conditions are: number one, elite fragmentation; number two, mass mobilization; number three, security force defection. Americans and Israelis tried all their capabilities. Obviously, some segments of the public have expressed their dissatisfaction. However, security forces remain loyal in Iran. And my question is, what is the secret behind Tehran authorities' ability to maintain Iran's unity?
Well, the whole story of the aggression against Iran is based on many misperceptions and miscalculations, which is also deep-rooted in the misunderstanding about Iran and Iranian nation. Iranian nation is among those few nations in the world that they are civilizational nation. I mean, real nations. They are not artificial nations, emerged after the global wars, all those things, after the World War I or the World War II. Iran is deep-rooted in the history of 7,000 years, written history. And the fact that throughout the history, the Iranian nation has stood and withstood against many aggressions and invasions. Sometimes we have been defeated. Meanwhile, the essence of the Iranian nation always was resilient, and we could even able to digest those aggressors who have been invading Iran. Meanwhile, after a short period of time, they have been also digested within this civilization and culture of the Iranian nation. The United States started this aggression based on, the lack of understanding about the Iranian nation and the sense of nationhood and statehood in the Iranian, land and Iranian, territories. We know that there was a visit of Netanyahu to the White House February 11th. They had a meeting. And Netanyahu, he introduced the plans that we can start these strikes against Iran, trying to, kill the supreme leader and some of the commanders, and also to target part of the civilian and military infrastructure of the country. And in a few days, maybe in a week, we'll be able to overthrow the Iranian political establishment, the military apparatus, security apparatus, everything, and then the people will be on the streets supporting us, and everything done. The project is done. They were even, the Israelis thinking and planning for some sort of fragmentation inside the country, having, the operation of some separatist groups coming from abroad inside the country. Well, all those illusions proved to be false, because from the very beginning they were false. They underestimated the sense of nationhood and the sense of statehood in the Iranian nation. The fact that Iranian society is a very debative society. Mm-hmm. There are many different arguments inside the country with regard to the society, economy, politics, everything. And we know that there are some sort of dissatisfaction with some sort of, of the policies, especially in terms of economy and economic situation there in the country, which most of them, of course, there are some mismanagement, in economy, but the most important factor influencing the economic situation in Iran is the illegitimate sanctions against Iran for many years and decades.
Right.
That no any other country could resist against. Well, while the Iranian society is a debative society, but in facing the foreign aggressor, it will be one single united nation. And it proved to be the case again. The whole nation stood against this aggression. We have been witnessing crowds in Iran every night, gathering in the streets to express the solidarity, with the Iranian nation against the aggression, to say that we do not let the aggressors to take any 1 inch of the territories, of the Iranian territories. This is the situation, so they could not obtain any of the strategic goals that they have planned for. To overthrow the political apparatus and political establishment, to curb Iranian retaliation attacks, based on the self-defense against this aggression, which was totally false. And also the expectation that the society, the people, will come to the streets against the political establishment to topple the political establishment. All three objectives and goals proved to be, false and not obtained. And the fact that through all these developments and the Iranian resistance and resilience against this aggression, there is a new strategic equation emerged in the region, and the Iranian power, the power of the Iranian nation, and the power projection of the Iranian nation now is recognized, like it or not. Even the United States, they know that they cannot ignore the very essence of the Iranian nation power. And that's why we see that yesterday or the day before yesterday, it was that President Trump, he tweeted that based on request from the Emir of Emirates or Qatar or anybody else, we just decided to stop the plan for, resuming the attacks against Iran. It was totally false. They decided not to resume the strikes against the country due to the fact that under their intelligence, they knew that they will face a comprehensive, counterattacks and counterbalance by the Iranian, by Iran and by the Iranian army. This is the real situation, and I hope that somebody would make them understand that through this way they cannot obtain their goals. They need to think about some sort of equitable, respectful approach toward Iran and Iranian nation. Only through that way there could be, some sort of settlement out of the situation.
The case of Libya and the case of Muammar Gaddafi demonstrated that to have friendly relations with the United States means very little. That's number one. Number three, that having nuclear weapons is the only sure way to protect yourself in the world of great powers. And the third point, if the United States can't win outright, it can turn the country into a failed state if it wishes so. Given those lessons many in the region drew from the case of Libya, how have these perceptions shaped the strategic thinking and long-term security policy in Iran?
Well, there are many arguments. After the 12th-day war and after this recent war, there have been many arguments within the academic circles and the strategists, and many...
And also military.
Many,
right?
Many of the political, community and military community, that what would be the best possible, option and scenarios to protect Iranian nation and Iranian territories. And also the concept of deterrence and how you can balance counterbalance against all threats emerging in the surrounding region. Well, there is a new understanding, not only in Iran, but in the whole region. There is maybe a paradigm shift, especially within those countries that they have been purchasing security from abroad for many years. The countries in the south of the Persian Gulf, the Arab countries there, they have been purchasing security from the United States, buying all those sophisticated weapons, trillions of dollars of military expenditure, and also having and hosting the American military bases there in their territories. What was the result? All those military bases of the United States was not an asset for them. It was proved to be a very source of insecurity and instability to them. And trouble, of course. So they have been thinking that we have been hosting American bases, and the time that the United States decided to go for these adventures against another country, against Iran, which is a big country in the region, based on a very legitimate, let's say, argument, Iran can target our territories, those American bases. So there is a new mode of thinking emerging in the region in terms of the strategic, and security posture there, that we should go for some sort of indigenous, homemade approach for the security, for providing the security. And this could be the very beginning for emergence of a new architecture, security architecture in the region based on the capabilities and synergy of all countries and interlocutors involved there in the region, in the Persian Gulf. With regard to Iranian strategic thinking and the nuclear program, the Iranian nuclear program from the very beginning has been designed for peaceful purposes. Not only the internationally recognized agencies and institutions have been emphasizing several times based on all inspections, sophisticated, comprehensive inspections, and Iranian cooperation with all of them, the IAEA and other agencies. But also even the United States intelligence bodies, they have also emphasized several times that there is no military nature in Iranian nuclear program. But frankly speaking, based on the fact that NPT was not able to protect Iran's peaceful nuclear program against the aggressions, you know that there has been many strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, and Iran, a party to the NPT, which is based on some obligations and rights simultaneously. There should be some sort of some sort of equation between the responsibilities and obligations and the rights, which was not the case. And NPT was not capable to protect Iran and Iranian nuclear facilities against all those aggressions and strikes by American and Israeli, aggressors. Well, yeah, in the academic circles, there are some people arguing that, well, when NPT cannot protect Iran's peaceful nuclear program, and based on the fact that other factors for deterrence could not work very well, why Iran should not go for some sort of militarized nuclear program? Even some people in the academic circles have been talking about withdrawal from NPT. Well, these are in the academic circle. The Iranian official stance not changed yet. The Iranian strategic, outlook is still the same. We say that the Iran's nuclear program is not for any military dimensions and will not divert into the military dimensions. This is totally peaceful nuclear program, and we are ready also for complete transparency with regard to the program in case the let's say, inalienable rights of Iran under NPT is recognized by the United States. This is the Iranian official position.
I got it. So Iran is a member of international institutions supported by China and Russia, such as BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Iran is not a full member of the Eurasian Economic Union, but it has significantly deepened its relationship with the members of this organization recently. Iran became, I think, an observer state in 2024, and last year you signed a full free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. So, and that free trade agreement significantly reduced tariffs for the trade between Iran and Eurasian Economic Union members, covering nearly 90% of the goods, which is aiming to boost trade, logistics, and regional integration. How do you see the future of this cooperation between Iran and the Eurasian Economic Union, and does Armenia's membership facilitate your business with this organization?
Sure. We have 14 members, 14 neighbors. We are neighboring 14 countries. And that's among the reasons that Iran has been able to withstand against and has been resilient against all those illegitimate, sanctions and the so-called maximum pressure of the Trump administration. Because we do have different neighbors. Every neighbor, they do have some potentials for work and collaboration, so we can arrange all those collaborations with each of them, and among them Armenia is also important for us. And the level of the economic exchange between the two countries is really good and even expanding. These new institutions globally and regionally, they are established due to the fact that something was wrong. The fact that the current world order was not anymore capable enough to manage the relations between the countries, different countries and different emerging powers and emerging players. The United States was trying to make the hegemony after the collapse of the Cold War. They have been trying to go for some sort of unilateral world order based on the hegemony of the United States everywhere. And the fact that the United States has been declining economically, militarily, and in terms of also the soft power as well. They have been under decline. So there is dire need for establishment of the new institutions which are able to materialize those potentials that are emerging throughout different regions, including ours here in the Eurasia. So BRICS, Shanghai, and also the Eurasian Economic Union are among the important institutions having established in last decade, and they do have great potentials for, collaboration and integration between different countries and different parties involved. We do have very good economic partnership with all countries party to the Eurasian Economic Union. And Armenia, I believe Armenia can play important role with regard to making connections between the Iranian potentials and capabilities,
right,
to the north part of Iran, Russia and other countries, Belarus, Russia and others.
Because Armenia is the only member which has a border.
Exactly, yeah.
Which has a border.
Armenia is the immediate neighbor to Iran, and we do have very good relationship with Armenia. And Armenia can also play important role in terms of, being a transit hub in the region, in the South Caucasus and also in the surrounding region. We are thinking about plans for connecting the Persian Gulf and the Oman Sea to the Black Sea through Armenia. In that sense, Armenia can play an important role, be it the railway connections or the road connections. That's huge potentials for Armenia that need to materialize in future. And also we can think about having cooperation with Armenia, having some Iranian industrial products to be finished here in Armenia as Armenian and, as Armenian branded, an Armenian product to be exported to the other countries in the Eurasian or other countries, even European countries. So there are huge potentials, be it a bilateral cooperation between Iran and Armenia and the institutional cooperations between Iran and Armenia within the Eurasian Economic Union. So we are trying to, work on different ideas and different plans for, how we can maximize the potentials that could work between Iran and Armenia.
Since you mentioned our bilateral relationship between Armenia and Iran, let's talk a little bit about trade between our two countries. So personally, I'm not happy with the volume of the trade we have, and I can justify my point of view because, Iran is a huge market. 93 million is the population of Iran. And in 35 years, we don't even have an annual turnover of $1 billion. In 2024, I think it was getting closer to $700 million, which also includes the deal electricity versus gas, where we don't have any financial transactions. What should be done to increase the trade volume between Armenia and Iran? Because in 35 years, it could have, increased up to $10 billion. Why not, given the market of Iran? What specifically, in your view, should be done to increase this trade?
Well, I agree with you. The potentials are much greater than what we are doing now. We should think and plan for some long-term projects between Iran and Armenia to make the Armenian economy and Iranian economy complementary to each other. There are great potentials in Armenia that Iran can take advantage of, be it the transit, location of Armenia, or the Armenian access to other markets, having FTA contracts or agreements with others. I mean, with European countries and with some other neighboring countries.
And also Georgia.
Georgia and others. And Iran has also huge potentials to provide Armenia with some new opportunities. If I put an example, Armenia, in terms of the energy security, Armenia is totally dependent on one single country or maybe one or two countries only.
Correct.
If we try to plan for some sort of new paradigms that could go for a durable energy security for Armenia, for example, having a refinery here in Armenia be fed by Iranian petroleum, crude oil, I mean.
Terrific, of course.
What was happening?
Yes.
There will be huge, revenues for the Armenian, added value for the Armenian economy. Having, the fuel and all those, refinery products to be produced here inside the country, and even to be able to export to others as well. Or in terms of transit that I just mentioned, India and the European Union recently, it was last year, they signed the free trade agreement that would involve a population of approximately 2 billion people. Just imagine that how huge could be the exchange, in the future could be the exchange, economic exchanges between India and the European Union. And Iran and Armenia could be the connecting routes for important part of this trade. How much opportunities we can think about and we can plan for. If we can make the railway connections from Jolfa to Yaras, and then through Yaras to the Black Sea, which is going on, then what would happen in terms of the, the transits opportunities for both Iran and Armenian economy? Also, there are, Iran has also huge potentials in terms of high-tech and technologies. That could be also an important area for collaborations between Iranian, well-educated, entrepreneurs and the Armenian ones. And also having new plans for a possible joint free economic zone between Iran and Armenia. In the other side of the border, we do have the Aras free economic zone, huge economic zone with great potentials. And just think about having this economic free zone to be connected to the Armenian ones in the other side of the border. That would complement each other. Having different companies and different factories, accommodated there in the economic free zone and to complement each other. We need to be, quite open to the new ideas and how we can make plans out of that ideas for strengthening ties between the two great nations. We need to be ambitious.
Sure, I like that.
Not only to think about very small ones or small projects or plans, but we need to be quite ambitious because the potentials are huge in both sides.
I like your idea about the refinery in probably Sunnik region,
sure.
Which could solve lots of issues related to the energy security in Armenia. And since, we have this issue of communications in Sunnik region, like in different countries, they call it differently. So as you know, recently, I think that was in January, they signed some kind of a framework in Washington related to this route of peace and prosperity. This is how it's called, although this paper signed is not legally binding yet. And the United States and Armenia do not have any obligations at this moment, neither financial nor legal obligations. So it's not legally binding document. But according to that document, 74% shares of that route is given to the United States. I don't know why. I would give them maximum 25%. So anyhow, but it has been negotiated and it's 74%. So my question is whether, given also this ongoing war, if in the future American presence in this region, and I asked my colleagues to put the map of the region and Sunni region, if the American presence would be acceptable, what would be reaction of Iran, given the fact that Iran is the only country which opened general consulate in Kapan, in Sunni region, and does Tehran now see itself a more active strategic player in balancing the region?
Well, a resilient Armenia and a resilient Sunni is quite important in Iranian strategic calculation. We do believe that there should be some sort of balance in the South Caucasus between different countries in the region, so that having that balance in different fields would make the durable peace and stability possible. The stability and the security could be possible, and the peace could be possible through the balance between the capabilities and might of different players in the region. And we have been opposing any idea that would erode the Armenian territorial integrity and the sovereignty. There has been talks before about the so-called Zangezur corridor that Iran strongly withstood against. And we emphasize that we do not let it happen, because it is based on some historical claims or some geopolitical ambitions that is gonna, erode Armenian territorial integrity and to change the current status in terms of, the borders between the countries in the region. So for us and for Iran, the territorial integrity of Armenia, the security of the country, the sovereignty of the Armenian nation is of vital interest. We do not have objections against anything that Armenian people would perceive as their best interest. Well, Armenia is located in a very strategic, important location, and among the capabilities and potentials of the country is, a connecting hub or connecting position that could make, the connectivity possible within different regions. Well, we would be really happy that Armenia would be able to maximize all those potentials in favor for the Armenian welfare and Armenian development, and a wealthy Armenia, a stable Armenia is of vital interest for Iran as well. With regard to the so-called, this trip project, from the very beginning, we have been communicating with the Armenian officials, and there has been very good communications and different channels between the two countries. And the Armenian argument has been based on the Armenian government determination that any project like this not to damage by any means the Iranian-Armenian relationship, the borderline between the two countries, the connection between the two countries. So we are trying to strengthen this communication and to make sure that any foreign presence in the other side of the border in the Armenian territory would not loosen, first of all, the Armenian sovereignty and security, and then not to have any negative impact on the trust between the two countries, which is very important asset between Iran and Armenia. The trust between the two countries for many years has been the most important asset for both nations. And we hope that while the Armenian government is following this, this project, I don't care about the very details, but we hope that also the United States won't go to, while this is directly into, the private sector of the two countries to work together for implementation of this project, that by no means that would be, a source of distrust or the source of, threats or insecurity for any country, including for Iran. After the aggression against Iran, the Iranian sensitivity even much bigger with regard to the United States approaches and the animosity against our country, all those hostilities that the United States has shown to be, very much deep-rooted in Washington. We hope that through diplomatic channels and communications between Iranian and the Armenian side, we can, find good mechanisms and solutions that not this project, but any other plans or projects not to hurt and damage the very invaluable relationship between the two great nations of Iran and Armenia.
Very good. Now let's get to the last part of our discussion. Sure. In Armenia, we always had great interest toward Iran and Iranian studies. So I'm sure you know that we have Department of Middle Eastern Studies and the Yerevan State University. So we have Russian-Armenian University, where there is also a great Institute of Oriental Studies. In the Academy Science, we have also Department of Middle Eastern Studies. So there is this great interest toward Iran and Persian. So there is this interest, and because we all know, and it's coming from very old times, that in Iran, Iran is a very old has very old civilizational identity. You have deep philosophical and poetic traditions, strong educational culture, major scientific capacity, and the population of Iran is comparatively educated and politically educated than many other nations in the Middle East. But in the Middle East, they never had some kind of an enlightenment. Of course, I'm not talking about Islamic golden age, when in the 8th century with the establishment of Baghdad, and which went up to 14th century, that was something different. But in Middle East, you never had enlightenment as Europeans had in the 18th century, or as Japanese had in the Meiji era. Do you think Iran can intellectually contribute to a modern Islamic enlightenment? Do you think that that's possible to have now in this changing world some kind of Islamic enlightenment, and Iran can make a contribution, given all these advantages Iran has?
Sure, why not? There is a new momentum, and every country in the Islamic world and in the Middle East region, while there is a very root cause of the insecurity and instability in the region, which is the illegitimate regime of Israel, which was established 78 years ago. And throughout all these decades, it has been the very source of insecurity for, the occupation and subjugation of the Palestinian people. And unfortunately, still this source of insecurity exists in the region. But the countries in the region, the Islamic countries in the region, they have many similarities. They have many things in common. The nations in the region, they are so much enthusiastic toward each other. They are sympathetic toward each other. And they have great, great potentials. I mean, the natural resources, which is given to all these nations. Also the human resources, rich human resources as well. And of course, the history and traditions in the country, in the region as well. And Iran, by the way, has been also an important factor for the golden age, as you just mentioned.
Right.
Many of the scientists and entrepreneurs and philosophers and astronomers and, poets and scientists, medicines, all those people have been Iranians. Again, we can think about re-emergence of this enlightening in the region based on the potentials and capabilities that the great nations in the region they enjoy. Well, it needs some sort of intellectual change or intellectual renaissance in the mindset of the region and also the leaders in the region, to think that we need to overcome the era for, divergence and disagreements and the security mindset in favor for a new mentality which is development-oriented, peace-oriented, and also directed into grasping all those opportunities inside the region, indigenous, mechanisms for sympathy and synergy and integrations within the region. So if that intellectual change would happen, there would be great chances of having also the countries in the region as important, source of, economic might, military might, also to be able to take advantage of the huge human resources that they do have for, to be pioneering technological, advancements and also many economic also integration inside the region. That's what has happened in the European Union. When the European Union, the European countries, after the two miserable world wars that devastated the whole Europe and also killed millions of people in the European countries, they could be able to go for this integration, and the European Union is the most successful integrative mechanism in the whole world. Why should not the countries in the Middle East be able to also take advantage of all those potentials they do have and go for this integration among themselves? So this is possible. Iran is ready to contribute very positively to that aim, and Iranian initiatives for security structures within the region and among the regional states unfortunately was neglected for many years. And we do hope that after this aggression against Iran and the fact that there is a cognitive shock among the countries in the region based on the fact that the US military bases was only liability to them, not asset. So there would be also a change in the mindset of the leaders in the region to go for unity among themselves based on the local potentials and capabilities.
Right, and we are not at the end of a war that President Trump began, but in the midst of something bigger, I think. And what's happening in Iran is extremely important for us Armenians, because Iran is not simply a neighbor or partner, it's our ally. Sure. And nothing has happened in all these Gulf wars and in all the Middle Eastern crisis since 1973 comes close to what's happening now. I mean, the scale of the the scale of the shock to the global economy that is currently unfolding. And I don't mean only the prices of oil. The pressing question, I'm making that conclusion from all your answers, and especially in the beginning of our discussion, the pressing question, I think, is not really whether the United States can win this war. The question is whether it can recognize that this kind of victory it seeks is no longer practically available.
If President Trump is realistic enough and wise enough, he can take victory by withdrawing from this war, recognizing the fact that while the United States could not obtain the strategic goals that, first of all, were not necessarily the strategic goals of the United States, but also the strategic goals of Israel. If he is realistic enough, he can, by avoiding another round of aggression against Iran, that would also put the United States and bases and soldiers in a situation of, new threats and, vulnerabilities, and the U.S. allies there as well. This could be a victory by itself. If they try, to terminate everything in this position and in this situation, it will be a victory for Trump, because he will not be, forced to face with the very tragic implications of a possible decision about a new round of aggression. Many negative implications would come for the United States, for the Republican Party, and unfortunately for the American great nation. So I hope that somebody would make him understand. And so far he has understood that this way of talk to Iranian nation won't work. He tried with some other nations the language of threat and bullying, and it worked. Now he has emphasized, and he was so much frustrated that several times he threatened to, all those, nonsense statements about, to uproot the Iranian nation or the Iranian civilization, all those things. And against all those threats, the Iranian nation was quite cool, that say that you cannot destroy a nation which is a civilizational nation deep-rooted in the history. It's not possible at all. He was so much frustrated. And now he has emphasized that the Iranian nation is somehow different. That's enough. I hope that he would be wise enough. There are also possibilities for a political settlement for the issues between Iran and the United States. There has been communications with regard to different proposals and ideas that could be the ingredients of a possible, settlement and agreement between the two sides. And if he is wise enough not to be maximalist, not to expecting that while he has not been the winner side of this aggression, to be expecting that he would obtain everything that a victor or a winner would obtain. He should be realistic, then there will be new windows of opportunity for the peaceful settlement, and I hope that that would work. And the Iranian nation is a peace-loving nation. Throughout the history, we never invaded any country, at least for last 400 years.
That's for sure.
We never invaded any country, and we never started any aggression. Iranian nation is a peace-loving nation. We are the nation, as you just mentioned in the very beginning, Iranian nation is the nation of poems and literature and, science and technology and, all those heritage that our ancestors put for us, and this is also a responsibility shouldering us, that we should also cherish what we have been given by heritage from our ancestors. We do love to be always the same nation, not to be forced to go for war and for, you know, threats and for the instability and for all those, you know, unfavorable things that would emerge out of the war. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great having you here, Ambassador. So our guest was Ambassador Extraordinary at Plenipotentiary of the Islamic Republic of Iran, His Excellency Khalil Shirolami. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. My great pleasure.